evening, wherever you are in the world. Hello, everyone. Dr. Eve here. Hope all is well. Hope all is well. It's a great day to be alive amongst the land of the living. And if you are here, say, Father, I thank you. Welcome to my live. I am Dr. Eve. We talk about all things sustainable living and building a strong home economy from the soil up. And as most of you know, I am an urban homesteader, but I'm also an entrepreneur. I am building an agritourism business, agribusiness, all the things that relate to indoor, outdoor, home, art deco, garden deco, all the things, right? That just tickles my fancy, right? Just makes me absolutely happy, right? And I know that if it makes me happy, that it will make others happy as well. So, as an investor, also, I am a real estate investor, and so I've been learning a lot of wonderful things and how do you put it? How to advance or enhance the property that you have to create something beautiful and also to earn an income from it. You know, kind of like an Airbnb, right? Or a tiny home retreat, or you may add on an ADU, which is an accessory dwelling unit, right? So I am building here in collective, in collective, right many things, gardens, but the super goal is homesteading, the super goal. But in homesteading, you can also add ADUs. So I am anticipating, and my ultimate goal is a tiny retreat space. And so I'm really excited about sharing the things that I'm learning and the things that along the way and take you along with me as I build out this space. So many of you have seen some of the garden things that I'm doing, some of the creations. I have an upper deck, lower deck, patio garden, greenhouse garden, right now I'm working on the Olive Garden. But I want to talk with you more specifically about what is the process like? What is the thought process behind creating a retreat, tiny retreat space, urban homestead? Not just for you, but for your community. As an advocate and a macro level leader, my goal has always been not just about me. It's never, ever about me. But it's also about how you can serve your community. And so I just want to help, let you all into the way I think about, building out this retreat space, homesteads, retreat space, whatever that is for me that day, right? And so some of the thought processes put behind that, one of the things that I do is I study, right? I read a lot of books. I buy a lot of books. I I am a topical learner. And so I will go and get from to my local used bookstore and get local books, dollar, $2 on things that I want to learn more about. And the reason why I go and get books on it is because when we use the internet, we can get caught up in the, spiral. And if you are a neurodivergent learner like me, then it can become a day's worth of work wasted, right? And so I like books because the books is only about what I want to learn about. And I'm not being taken into some cycle, some funnel, of things. So what are some things that I think about initially when I started this project? Um, and why is it important? No, why is this important? One of the things that I have learned on this journey is life be life. And as a 62-year-old woman, I believe that society has gotten us away from, basic home economics. We be we so busy advocating and helping and chasing down behind the next dream that sometimes home gets put on the back burner. And when I say home gets put on the back burner, I mean your your strategies for development, your strategies for earned income, your strategies for sustainable living, your strategies on if this then what, right? And so I really think it's critical that we get back to home economics, living and what does that look like? And in these present times, how do we build a sustainable life, right? And so for me, it looks like, and I hope for you that I can help you along that journey, is building a strong foundation. Now, I have not always been a homeowner. I have rented. Well, my parents were homeowners, um, but I have not been was not a homeowner. I am now. I am a multiple real estate owner. I have a $1 million property that I'm invested on with us a few other people. So it's all about where where do you see yourself, and can you how can you start right now? And so for me, it was first things I had to do was put myself on dream. First of all, I had to dream. Number one, I had to dream what is possible. And do I want to be a homeowner or nah? All my life, I started traveling and I got bit by the travel bug. And my work was around the world because I am a global leader. And so I work wherever people call me to work, whatever country that is. So I've been all around the world and I am settling on home in the moment. And the reason why that's so important is because I have to do what God has told me to do, which is leave an inheritance. We have some instructions. And the instructions said leave an inheritance for your children and your children's children. Even if you never ever get to experience all that you desire to experience from what you're creating, the goal is that you leave a legacy for your family. So that got me to thinking, okay, it's not just about airplanes, airports, and other countries. What am I doing here in my local community? What am I doing and leaving around for my family? So that got me to thinking about, okay, well, maybe home ownership is something that I want to do. And 4 years ago, I started a challenge, and the challenge was just for me. It wasn't about anyone else. It was a challenge for me because I needed to challenge my mind in that moment, in a time where the climate was so cray cray because we things were so uncertain with the pandemic. And so I began to think about what life would look like after the pandemic and in the pandemic. So I realized that I needed to save, I needed to, do some things differently. I needed to prepare, I needed to be stronger, I needed to make sure that I was eating well, and I was gardening at the time. I was learning everything I could about gardening and the different foods, how they grow. And I'm still learning. Like it's a never-ending journey of learning. So, let's see. There's a bug. Is there a bug crawling on my screen? Oh, it's on the plant. I was wondering, what's that bug I see? It's a bug on the plant. So it was a never ending journey. Let me turn around to the light. So I realized that okay, that this is something that I have to have. And so I went on this challenge to 6 million steps to freedom. Now I didn't know what I couldn't define that at the moment. I was in my mind defining what freedom meant to me. Um, And so I just started walking. Walking was important because I needed to challenge my health. I needed to challenge my physical man. I needed to challenge my mental man, my emotions, my will, my all of those things. I needed to challenge my finances, and keep more of them, save more, eat better, all the things. So I went on that journey, and when I did that challenge for myself, I began to walk through neighborhoods, and I was like, you know what, that's a pretty house over there. I began to dream. I began to dream. It's amazing what will happen when you just challenge yourself to be free, free from the internet, free from people, free from other people's screens, just free from things. And I went on that challenge, and being in the outdoors and walking and physically and mentally challenging, and my health and status, um, I started to see things I didn't see before. And that was the beautiful homes, right, in the neighborhoods where I was walking. So I began to say, well, I would like, and I began to say, well, I like that part of that house, or I like that corner. I like the corner lots. The corner lots have so much you could do to them, right? And so there was a lot that went into my desire for a home, what it should look like, and as a real estate investor, I knew that there were certain things I also wanted for my home, because I knew I was going to garden, because I was already gardening. I was learning plants. I was gardening in bags. Okay. So I came a long way. Needless to say, I decided on a home, at least in my mind, what I wanted after walking many, 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 many steps. I don't know how many I eventually walked, but I was on a mission. I know I was doing 10,000 steps at least a day. The mission was 6 million steps. Was it 6 million? I don't know if it was 6 million or 6,000 steps. It might have been 6,000 steps, because that sounds more practical. So it might have been 6,000 steps to freedom. In any case, I just kept stepping. And then I kept dreaming. And then I kept identifying, what kind of home do I want? So I it all came to play. So when I made the decision, after taking these intentional steps in my mind to free my mind, because that was the most important thing, what I was thinking, how I was thinking, what I was doing with my money, challenging myself, in all areas of life, was what I had to do. I had to make some decisions. And so I finally decided on what type of house I wanted. And I needed a home. And I took people on the journey with me. And I needed a home that was on a corner lot. I needed it to have, I needed it to have land. I needed it to have one level ranch style. I needed to have lots of rooms. It didn't have to have a garage. It had to have trees. It had to have, good soil. It had to have lots of resources, because I needed the resources to grow food. So today I am living on that property, and today, 4 years ago, 4 years in next month, um, I will be celebrating 4 years in my ranch style corner lot property with a garden, because I didn't miss a beat. And if you can see what I see, this is my view, all right? This is my current view right here. And so what I am building here is a retreat space, a tiny retreat space, okay? So in tiny retreat and making the decisions, first of all, I had to decide on what kind of property. And y'all, I even can put my cars in my backyard too, like fenced in. Nobody even knows I'm home, right? And that's the beauty. Like I literally back my car up, and I didn't need a garage, but I could back my car up, and nobody knows that I'm here, because I built a fortress. I built a fortress around my home. I could exit certain ways, and I love that for me. So the other thing was, what other thoughts doing now is realizing that you can, even with what you have, like I started this with grass. I started with some trees, some grass, some land, and a house. I started with a house. Let me put that in a different order: house, land, some trees. Okay, that's what we started with. Realizing that you can always make changes. That's the first step to creating your space, is realizing that you can always make changes. So I went full speed ahead. Number one, making small changes, because I wasn't sure about where I wanted to put things. So I made very small changes. I started with one area of the yard doing an orchard, because I knew that I wanted fruit, 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 lots of fruit, okay? Because it comes back every year. I don't play no games about planting stuff that only you can only do once a year. It's perennial or not. I might add an annual here or there, but my number one ideal plant is going to be a perennial. So you start with fruit. Start with your fruit, because you want to build that up, because you want to make sure that you have those fruit trees in place. All right, because in the strongest part of your yard, because they need that sun, right? So you want to make sure you got that before you start putting in other things that may cast a shadow over it. So remember that you can always make changes. That's number one. Um, you're at liberty to do that anytime. Number two, what do you like? I already mentioned. What do you like? I knew that I like fruit. I like vegetables. I like flowers. I like beautiful things. And if I like them and create something beautiful, then I'm sure that other people would like it too. Now, at the time, I didn't know that I was moving towards a retreat space. I simply was, putting some things in place that I liked. So remember, but you can always make changes. So my initial steps again was to work out what I like. Work out what that is. What is that question? What do you like? Right? So you want to begin to think about, there are two ways to work this out. The first is to decide what you don't like. Decide what you don't like. I don't think that was a question for me, really. Because, oh, I can tell you what I don't like. Yeah, the one thing I don't like, let's say flat out don't like weeds, okay? That's laborious. I flat out do not like weeds. They are laborious. So we're not doing those, all right? So you want to make sure, because I have had to go backwards, because I've had to deal with weeds. Deal with them first up. How are you going to deal? If you don't like weeds, deal with them first. Go ahead and decide. Do you need to put down a turf? Do you need to put down some fabric? What part? How are you going to deal with the weeds? Do you want to put down some wood chips? What part area are you going to garden? What part are you going to orchard? What part are you going to, are just going to be plants? What part are you creating a garden, a food garden, or are you creating a cottage garden? For me, it's cottage because I'm a flower girl, right? I love flowers everywhere. I just want them and I want edible flowers. So, facts, we have to buy edible flowers. I need to put that on my list because I don't think I've ever truly focused on the type of flower because I love all beautiful flowers. But now that I'm speaking through this, I really love edible because that's what I'm creating, a food forest, a retreat space, a place where we can eat and grab food and eat, right? So you want to begin, that's going to be the first to decide what you don't like. All right. And then you want to think about the type of person you are and your tastes, and you will find a image of the type of garden that would suit you will start to emerge. And that is what's happening here. The type of garden that suits me is now emerging. But I still had to make changes. I had to realize, okay, just because you put all these beds here does not mean that you can't make some changes, right? Because the what I am now doing is different, is gonna look different after a while because I'm creating foodscapes. Foodscapes combined with foliage, combined with flowers. You know, it's gonna be something purely amazing around here. So like this Olive Garden I've been working on yesterday, I had to tear the whole bed up, y'all. It had plants in it already, but I had to take up plants, put them somewhere else. I had to put in the new plants that are going to be long term. Now, I like evergreen. Like I said, I wanted to come back. Now, if I want if I'm planting perennials, then I automatically know that any type of green thing that I want to put in there, it has to be evergreen. So I hadn't thought about that before. You know, like, wow. You know, it's really more important to put in your evergreens first because you can build around your evergreens. You can think about what your garden is going to look like before you put flowers in it. So because flowers, they come up and add beauty at different, they're seasonal, right? They come up, some come up in the spring, some may come up in the fall, some may come up in the summer, yada 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 yada. But the thing is, you have to you if you like things to come back every year and you are a forest green person, then you want to make sure you are putting in your evergreens first. Cuz baby, I had to tear that whole bed up. I had to tear the whole bed up. But I can look at it now and see what I need to do. Okay? So let's look at it. Let's just take a look. So, this is the bed that I'm currently working on. And it is my Olive Garden. And by Olive Garden, I mean I really do have olives. That's an olive tree. Two of them, a black olive and a green olive. And I take up this steel before I step on it. And so I had to make some decisions about this garden because I knew that I did not put my evergreen in here first. Or I had some evergreen, but they were these right here, monkey grass. So I had to begin to really think about this garden a little bit more. First of all, the elephant leaves were popping up everywhere. I put them here and they get really tall and massive. But they were all back there. But what I didn't want was all of those. I needed evergreen in the winter. These die back. So these are going to be gone in the winter. So I had to think, well, what's my evergreen? What's it going to look like in the winter? That's why I said that you have to think about your evergreen first. When you are building out your cottage garden or your retreat space, cottage garden for your retreat space, you have to think about your backdrop. What's your backdrop going to look like in the winter time, right? Because things get kind of grim in the winter. But I don't want my retreat space to be looking grim in the winter. I want it to have forestry. I want it to have beauty even then. So you have to put in things that are going to have, an evergreen. You have to put your evergreens in. So what I did was I took this bed up and I put in some things. Now, while you can't see it yet, I already know what these are. This back here is going to get 8 to 10 feet tall. It is a whirlwind palm, a whirling palm, and it's evergreen. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be big. It's going to be vibrant. It's going to be whirlwinding. It's going to have art to it. So Art Deco is what we're creating here, right? So it's going to have art. This is going to die back. So what I'm going to do here is put something evergreen around it. So I'll probably put in some shallow ground covering evergreens around this here thingy, these leaves, because it's going to die. So these other things that are in here that I put in, this is another evergreen. So this is my Pygarthantius. Pygarthantius. It is an evergreen that also has pink flowers in the spring and berries in the fall. So it's fully loaded, so it's getting ready for the fall. It is a wallflower, so it will grow to be 8 to 10 feet tall and five I think it's 5 to 6 feet across. So it's going to cover the wall. That's a goal, right? Beautiful green things in the winter. Olive trees are evergreen as well. They do not die in the winter. They have green foliage. They just won't have fruit. Like this one is getting its fruit now. As you can see, the olives are coming in, right? But they bear their fruit in the spring. So I see that I've lost a lot of olives but the birds will take off with them. So they get some, I get some, right? Um, the smaller one, the black olive is down there. It's a low lying. So now, while I don't know the name of this plant right here, it is a it is a shoot. It's a shoot off of this, which gives really beautiful orange leaves. The thing about choosing perennials is you can break them up because now we have 6 of them. So I broke them up. Now I have 6 of them. This is why I'm a perennial girl. Now, what I did here with the olive tree, because it will get really tall. It's going to get tall. And since it's going to get tall, I said, well, let me put some hostas around it. And y'all know hostas. Hostas gets big. They get really, really big. Can you see that? You have to be able to envision what is around the base, what's going to be around the base of my olive tree. Why is that important? Because I want to make sure that my olive tree also has the shade, ground shade that it needs to thrive, because you don't want your dirt or your soil exposed to the sun. You see how rich the sun is this morning? This is a part sun, part shade bed. This is literally a part sun, part shade. The sun is out now. It's right here on this part of the garden. It will be here for a couple of hours, and then the rest of the evening it will be shade. So you have to also be careful about what you select. I also put back there something that comes back, another evergreen, which is a yucca. Yuccas, they get really tall too. And so I'm excited about that's going to get tall. So we'll have a yucca, we'll have the pygarthanthus, we'll have the whirling palm, we'll have the olive trees that are here, and we'll have ground cover. What is going to be ground cover is also going to be food, like my oregano. This is oregano, this is parsley. This stuff will last. It's going to last right through the winter. And I am so excited because, yeah. So when you are thinking about, remember that it can always change. You want to remember that as you are designing, you remember that it can change. Be okay with that. What do you like? Think about first steps first, because I'm telling you, it's easier to think about it and plan it first than it is to go dig up an entire bed and put it back in. Because I'm exhausted today because I dug that whole bed up. But I also had to put those plants somewhere else so they didn't die. And I did put them in other places. When they start thriving, I will show them to you. Right now, they're going through plant shock. they're going through they're going through plant shock. So and then just decide whether you want fresh food in there. Again, do you just want a garden or do you want a cottage? A garden or a cottage garden. And so, or do you want a cottage garden? Because some people don't know how to grow food and don't want to grow food. So maybe you just want a cottage garden with flowers. But remember, flowers are edible too, depending on what you're buying. So you don't want to, I don't want to put poisonous flowers in my, I don't want to put none of those down here. So it's always good to study. Find yourself some good books. Where to get started? Where do you start? You get a great book that will inspire you. Follow people who also inspire you. There is this lady called Min. She's Japanese, and I follow her, and she's on Instagram actually. I follow her because she has one of the most beautiful, dense green foliage gardens I have ever seen in my life. And because I am creating a retreat spaces are different than your regular gardens, right? While I have food, I am creating also a retreat space. I think about, what I want that to look like. And the actual tiny ADU that I'm putting over there in the back space is surrounded by trees. Surrounded by trees, it gets some sun, so I'll be able to put some solar panels on it to get energy. But it's mostly, even with, and the thing about watching your yard is you get to see where the sun is, how much sun, all the things. And so it actually does get quite sunny back there. And so building out this retreat space, and then just go ahead and get started. You want to you want it to work for you, right? And so then you want to get started. So there are going to be other things I'm going to share with you here. I am excited about y'all growing with me, growing with Dr. Living for eternity, y'all. God gave us garden. He gave us garden for eternity. And so living for eternity with me, growing with me, I will share with you some of the things that I'm doing, some of the things I'm finding and learning along the way. And yes, I'm super excited. I hope that you enjoyed this information. That's all I have for today. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. We'll be sharing more as I continue to add more to the Olive Garden, because I am Art Deco. I create art in the garden. And so I am truly excited to be with you on this journey to creating what's possible, okay? Living for eternity in the garden. All right? Have the most wonderful day, and whatever you do, don't let anyone get in the way on your journey to living eternally. All right? And so I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.